Amara had been married to Daniel for 5 years. What started as a whirlwind romance quickly spiraled into a nightmare. Daniel's charm vanished after their wedding day, replaced by anger, infidelity, and cruelty. Amara endured his harsh words, the bruises he left on her skin, and the countless nights spent crying over his blatant affairs. Each time she thought of leaving, fear gripped her. Where would she go? What would people say? One day, after Daniel struck her during an argument over nothing, Amara realized she couldn't take it anymore. Gathering the strength she thought had been beaten out of her, she packed her bags and left while he was at work. She moved into a women's shelter, filed for divorce, and began rebuilding her life. Months later, while working at a local library, she met Marcus. He was kind, patient, and had a warmth that instantly made her feel safe. He respected her boundaries and never pressured her to share what she wasn't ready to. Over time, his steady kindness began to heal the wounds Daniel had left behind. One rainy evening, as they walked home from dinner, Marcus turned to her. "Amara, you've brought so much light into my life. I want to spend forever making you as happy as you've made me. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. Their wedding day was simple but filled with joy. Surrounded by friends and family, Amara walked down the aisle, her heart full of gratitude. For the first time in years, she felt truly loved, cherished, and free. She had found her happiness again, and this time it was hers to keep. Kate, Tasha, and Bella had always dreamed of going to university, believing it was their ticket to a brighter future. When they gained admission to Lakeside University, it felt like the beginning of a new chapter. However, life on campus wasn't what they expected. Soon, Tasha introduced the others to a group of older men who lavished them with gifts, money, and trips in exchange for their company. The allure of a luxurious lifestyle was irresistible. They called themselves Run's Girls, justifying their actions as survival in a tough world. At first, it was thrilling: new clothes, fancy phones, and weekends in exotic places. Lectures became optional, assignments were neglected, and exams were cheated on, if attended at all. They believed they could juggle it all. But things took a turn when Bella got pregnant, and the man responsible disappeared without a word. She dropped out to care for her child, struggling to make ends meet. Tasha spiraled into drug addiction, relying on substances to numb her guilt and fear. She was expelled after a scandal involving a lecturer. Kate, once the most ambitious of them, held on for as long as she could. But without the focus and discipline she needed, she failed most of her courses and eventually dropped out too. Years later, Kate sat in her one-room apartment, scrolling through social media. She saw pictures of her old classmates graduating, celebrating their achievements, and starting careers. Her heart sank as she realized how much she had lost chasing fleeting pleasures. Regret weighed heavily on her. She reached out to Bella and Tasha, hoping to reconnect and rebuild their lives. Together, they decided to start over, vowing never to let their past define them. Though Kate couldn't undo her mistakes, she learned a hard lesson. The choices made in youth can shape a lifetime, and it's never too late to seek redemption. Loveth had been in a relationship with Kalechi for 5 years. Their love story had all the appearances of perfection: weekend getaways, heartfelt conversations, and whispered promises of a future together. However, as the years went by, Loveth began to notice something unusual. Despite their deep connection, Kalechi always avoided conversations about marriage. Every time she brought it up, he brushed it aside with excuses, claiming he wanted to be financially stable or was waiting for the perfect moment. Loveth's patience began to wear thin. Her friends started asking why there was no ring after all these years. She brushed them off, unwilling to admit her growing doubts. Deep down, she trusted Kalechi, or so she thought. One evening, curiosity got the better of her. She decided to dig deeper into Kalechi's life. She checked his social media accounts, asked subtle questions, and even visited his workplace unannounced. It was during one of her unplanned visits that she overheard a shocking conversation between Kalechi and a colleague. The words hit her like a thunderbolt. He had a wife and 2 children. Her heart raced as she pieced everything together. The late-night calls he never answered, the weekends he occasionally disappeared, the reluctance to introduce her to his family, all the signs were there. She had just refused to see them. Devastated, Loveth confronted Kelechi. She waited for him outside his office, her hands trembling. When he finally appeared, she stepped forward and said, "Kelechi, who are you really? And why have you been lying to me for 5 years?" Caught off guard, Kelechi's face fell. He hesitated, but finally admitted the truth. "Loveth, I never wanted to hurt you. I love you, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you. I didn't want to lose you." His words felt like a dagger to her chest. "You love me. And yet you lied to me every single day for 5 years. You let me dream of a future with you, knowing it was never going to happen." Kelechi looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "I didn't want to lose you. You mean so much to me, and I didn't know how to let go." Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "You already lost me, Kelechi. You lost me the moment you decided to lie." Walking away from him was one of the hardest things Loveth had ever done. Her heart felt shattered, but she knew she deserved better. She cried herself to sleep for weeks, questioning how she could have been so blind. In her pain, she turned to God, pouring out her heart in prayer. She asked for healing and for another chance at love, a love that was pure and honest. Months turned into a year, and Loveth slowly rebuilt her life. She focused on her career, her friendships, and her relationship with God. One day, while volunteering at a charity event, she met a man named Chijioke. He was kind, compassionate, and genuine. Over time, Chijioke proved to be everything Kelechi was not. He was open about his intentions and treated Loveth with the respect and love she deserved. When Chijioke knelt down to propose 2 years later, Loveth couldn't stop the tears from falling. She had thought her heart would never heal, but God had given her a second chance at love. As she said yes, she silently thanked God for leading her away from Kelechi's deceit and toward a future filled with hope and happiness.